What's up, everybody? This is Ripples in Wales, back for another video. I hope you're all doing well, having a great day wherever you are in the world and whatever you're doing. So, whilst I was having a run today, I had a good think about the BG123 images, the main scenes, and something came to me about the fire scene that I hadn't really given enough time and credit for. And this is an alternative opinion as to our last video, as the potential market crash. Is that what the fire scene meant? And you know, the bringing down of the altcoins for the eventual rise of the markets, the far end. Now, this is an opposing theory, and again, they're all just theories. They're just ideas that we're just throwing around and seeing how we feel about things. In the previous video, I talked about the date of the end of the next Shemitah cycle and the end of the Jubilee, which tied in with the solar eclipse on October the 14th and the rise of the Phoenix and the burning of the fire. Now, I'm going to add some different perspectives to this today, which are going to be counter-narratives, completely the opposite way, really. And it's important for me not to get too drawn into one thought process on this. I keep my mind open. And this also, you know, allows flexibility of thinking, that we're not just pinned to one idea. It's just throwing ideas around. It's a bit of fun. That's all it is. Okay, so I was having a good old think about this, and these guys, got to minimize this for a minute. I'm going to bring up this. This original image had all the data in it. This is where everything was kind of crystallized in the original cartoon scene, and there's so much information here, and we mustn't forget this, because we have to go back to the beginning to understand everything. This is about how all the ciphers or cryptography clues are kind of left for us. And this important one carried a lot of information that we can use also in the later cryptographic cartoons. There's 2 or 3 parts to this which are really important, namely the height of the flags, Bitcoin being the Phoenix, the King's scepter, and the mannequin. Okay, but the main 2 points today are the height of these 2 flags and Bitcoin and the Phoenix. Okay, we're going to bring up the other view now. Now, the height of the stockings might not be attributed to dates in the calendar. They may just be reflections of the same height principles that we've seen in the castle scene, whereby the green stocking, which is Bitcoin, is lower down in the height, and they all sit in the same fashion as on the previous scene, as you can see. They sit in the same order, in the same pattern, but in this next scene, the XRP flag sits over to the right near the USD. That's interesting. It's a bit of a peculiarity, that, but the most important part is the Phoenix and Bitcoin. Now, when we look at the fire scene, we've got the green stocking, which is pinned on here for Christmas. So I guess this is going to be, you know, this is the Christmas scene, so it's referring to December. Okay, and the reason these stockings are on the mantelpiece is they're getting gifts. Okay, so it's likely that the stockings that are on there are likely to be the ones that do well. And that's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just trying to iterate and interpret what he's putting across to us. Now, the Phoenix was shown to us that was a Bitcoin, not XRP, and it's important that we keep that. So we know that we've had the fall of the money system and the change of guard. Back in the day, we kind of had a feeling that something was going to be used as a muse to keep people's attention away from gold and physical metals, and to draw them into an asset class that would allow enough distraction, safe haven, and get the masses looking the other way. And you know, he's put, you know, BG123 is the kind of the ultimate insider. Whoever they are, he is, she is, they know, and I'm not going to contradict the information that's presented in front of me, because Bitcoin is the Phoenix. And so when we look at this, we can have a look at it in another angle, is that we must also pay attention to the news and not get kind of distracted from actually what's being said in the news narrative, because it can also be useful. It's distracting, but kind of useful. Now, we know that there is a massive Bitcoin ETF narrative. I've just brought up some articles, especially Novogratz important here. Cathie Wood and Novogratz are bullish on the spot coin ETFs. You've got other articles here. BTF is needed for seal of approval, Mike Novogratz. Now, Novogratz is the one that's called for the Bitcoin ETF by the end of this year. And he's not the only one. Raoul Paul and people like that, I believe, also have called it, potentially in before the end of Q4. So if Bitcoin does get an ETF this year, it's going to be a kind of a regulatory seal of approval in any way, shape or form. It's already been classed, or rather, it's already been allowed through and given a free pass. We know that was deliberate. It's been slipped under the door, and that's deliberate. We think we know why that's occurring. It's mainly because it was a distraction. It's a way for them to allow a migration of one system to another without having complete and utter catastrophes going on. So if we are potentially thinking that there's going to be an ETF for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is the Phoenix, and the Phoenix is rising in the fireplace, then it may suggest that we need to look at this a little bit differently. And it's good not to be, like I said, I'll just minimize this for a second. Oh, before I move on, the 1988 cover of The Economist, Get Ready for a World Currency, was about Bitcoin, the Phoenix. That's the idea. And it was, 2018. I think you have a look here. 2018. Of course, people are going to say, oh, it's Stellar Lumens. Whatever. It's Bitcoin. Okay. The 10 just is digital. It says 10 there, but 10 is an anagram for digital binary. And you've got the dollars burning here. You've got the X, which is interesting. And you've got the fleur de lis on the flag here, which is also on top of the Phoenix's head. But you get also, look, the colours, get ready for the world currency. It's written in green. It's interesting. 2018 was when Bitcoin topped and really showed its teeth for the first time. There is no fleur de lis here to show, XRP is the Phoenix, so we have to go with the data that we have, and we can presume that it's that. We also can see in the fireplace here, there is the King's Scepter burning. I have a higher res image here for the fireplace, if you will. Just let me open this. Images, higher res, Christmas scene. We find it. It's probably there, that one. So we can see that the King's Scepter is burning in the fire. It's here. And so is the seal of approval of the ETFs, the spot ETFs on Bitcoin in September, the golden month, is it what spurs on the rise of the Phoenix, which is the rally of Bitcoin? They're all calling for it. Should we look at that as in that way? It's interesting. We've still got, for the rest of the scene here, we've still got the knight in a very kind of defensive mode, in front of the arm, which is the SEC. So I'm going to leave that wide open to interpretation. I still feel that there is going to be some sort of event. I don't think these things go unnoticed. They like to use the astrology and the astronomy to their advantage for ushering things in. But is it another way? Should we be looking at this, that they're going to allow the solar eclipse to let the Phoenix out of the cage and fly, and we see Bitcoin rip? And it's quite a possibility, because by Christmas, the only two stockings on here that are cryptos are Bitcoin and XRP. And the rest of the tokens could bleed, if that was the sense. That was another thing I was thinking about, is that they could all bleed very heavily, because all the money will run into Bitcoin and out of those alts, and we will see a bloodbath in the alt if that happens. Because once they run the ETF for Bitcoin, the spot ETF, once that money's made, that money won't want to rotate. It ain't going to rotate into the alts, because the SEC has got the eye on them. For 68 of them are potentially securities. So the only one that it'll roll into is either stable coins or XRP, in my humble opinion, because that's got legal clarity. And if by that point in time, when that money wants to rotate into 2024, and XRP is settled out or under the kind of the boot of the system, then we could see a dramatic change. They're just thoughts. They're just food for thought. There's nothing more, nothing less on that. I'm going to make a separate video on the mannequin, which is something else I've been looking at past couple of days, which is the little string man that we talked about. But you know, if Bitcoin gets, and if this Gavel is to do with a spot ETF, then who knows? We may see an absolute push to high heaven. But we must remember that the Phoenix is Bitcoin, and you know, the Phoenix is a metaphor in many ways, because they talk about the burning down of something. Now, in that magazine article, we can go back to bring it back up. The burning down is of the fiat currency. Okay, so we know that they knew that the money system would run its course by, you know, this 100-year cycle, and they were planning for this in their eventuality. So is it the burning down the fiat? It's hard to say. Anyway, food for thought. We're going to leave it at that. Just a short, quick one today. It's Sunday. Been out running. Time to go for Sunday dinner. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. That's another alternative perspective. Shows that we can be fluid in our thinking. We're not pinned to one idea. We've got to keep open. We don't know the answers. We're always guessing with these things. Anyway, none of this is financial advice. Me talking about cartoon bear with a funny hat. But it's interesting and thought-provoking to go through these things nonetheless, isn't it? Anyway, have a great day. Be blessed.